Chapter 1. Thinking about something for too long. Thinking about something for too long often leads to distress. We live in a highly cerebral world where our brains endure overactivity because we overthink. Those who can't control their thought process tend to overthink, which leads to anxiety. Constantly analyzing our lives and actions is self-defeating and will not benefit us in any way. Naturally, our brains were designed to solve problems and comprehend things, but overthinking does the opposite. It is characterized by feelings of awfulness and is harmful to mental health. Below are some symptoms of overthinking. Always being conscious of thoughts, inability to control thoughts, hating spontaneous thoughts and feeling that some thoughts are unwelcome. Thinking feels like a struggle between competing impulses. Constantly questioning, doubting, analyzing, or judging your thoughts. Seeing self and personal thoughts as the source of your problems when faced with setbacks. Focusing on understanding thoughts and digging into the inner workings of the mind. Having issues with decision-making and doubts regarding choices made. Worrying and harboring concern about many things at once. Engaging in negative thought patterns. Thinking about uncontrollable past events. Remember, overthinking delays the decision-making process, thereby impeding progress. Although some of the above qualities seem good, we could begin to think above and beyond what is beneficial. Thinking is an awesome gift that allows us to reflect, analyze, and interrogate everything, including our own thought processes. A brain is an amazing tool, but we tend to undermine its power when we overthink. In this summary, you will learn to stop overthinking and put your brain to good use instead. Additionally, you will discover ways to strengthen your sense of control and generate hope and excitement rather than fear. Our daily habits can feed our anxieties and result in overthinking in subtle but significant ways. Nick Trinton. Chapter 2. Genetic predisposition plus stressful precipitating events equal overthinking. Overthinking is when you can't stop analyzing, evaluating, ruminating, and worrying excessively about things to a point where it begins to affect your mental health. Many people believe that anxiety is the root cause of overthinking. However, there are a lot of factors that cause anxiety, which can be intrinsic or extrinsic. Here are two main sources of anxiety. Ourselves. One major intrinsic factor that brings about anxiety is genetics. Unfortunately, some people tend to be more anxious than others because of their genetic predisposition. The truth is that no single cause has been identified as the reason for anxiety. However, experts have discovered a genetic component. For instance, Pervs et al. Argued in the 2019 Molecular Psychiatry paper that chromosome 9 carries genes associated with the development of anxiety. But having these genes does not definitively mean you'll struggle with anxiety. Most people are habitual overthinkers because it makes them feel they are solving the problem they are overthinking about. However, this is not true, as overthinking never stops, but we still enjoy it because we feel like we are progressing. This eventually turns into a vicious cycle that can be hard to escape. Keep in mind, people who overthink are more overwhelmed than others because they turn the normal stresses of life into complicated situations. Our environment. This major extrinsic factor that leads to anxiety has two aspects, and the first is our immediate environments. Places like our homes and offices where we spend the most time. The way these places are composed can have a considerable impact on our anxiety levels. For example, if a place is noisy, not well illuminated, and cluttered, we will feel more anxious. The second aspect is the broader world, which refers to the experiences we have in our socio-cultural setting through interactions with others. For example, experiencing racism or sexism might make us stressed, resulting in heightened anxiety. The negative consequences of overthinking, such as physical, mental, and even social harms, can have long-term effects like muscle tension, depression, impatience, and irritability with headaches, dizziness, etc. Chapter 3. The main goal in releasing bodily and mental tension is to identify what is going on in your head when you overthink. The first step in identifying the things that trigger overthinking is awareness. Awareness occurs when you shift your attention to your inner and outer experience without judgment, clinging, or resisting. You can cultivate this awareness by constantly taking note of your thoughts, feelings, and maintaining a lifestyle that supports your well-being. Below are some techniques you can use to de-stress and prevent yourself from overthinking. 4 A's of stress management. These stress management techniques are: avoid. Avoiding things means walking away from something you can't control. Although it's not everything that deserves your attention, the best way to handle some things is to remove them from your environment. Alter. If you can't avoid it, you need to learn how to alter your environment to remove the stressor. You can't avoid every stressful situation, so you have to look for ways to change them by determining how they unfold. Accept. If you can't alter your environment, you must accept it. Adapt. Lastly, if you get to the point where you've done everything, and it's apparent that you can't do much about the situation at all, then you should learn how to adapt. This is where you change yourself to cope better with the stress. Stress diaries or journaling. Another way to become more aware of your daily experience of stress is by having a stress diary or journal. Using a stress diary involves making a record of your stress level. For example, when we overthink, we have different kinds of thoughts going through our minds, which can be overwhelming. However, when you write down your stress levels systematically, you'll be able to analyze, evaluate, and know how to manage them. The 5-4-3-2-1 technique. This method helps in overcoming panic attacks by involving all your 5 senses. So whenever you're becoming anxious, look for 5 things around you that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 that you can smell, 2 that you can hear, and 1 that you can taste. The goal of this technique is to distract your brain from overthinking. Remember, to improve your mental health, draw boundaries around your relationship with people who tend to increase your stress level. Chapter 4. Learning to manage your time and energy reduces stress and helps you achieve your goals faster. Poor time management is a significant source of anxiety. People prioritize stress by allocating all their time and energy to activities that leave them anxious. You need to learn to prioritize rest and relaxation as not just something you do after completing other important things at the end of the day. You can relax by taking time out to have fun and engage in enjoyable activities or just spend time doing nothing. Time management is not all about getting much work done in a day. It's an excellent way to structure and manage your life such that you spend your resources and energy on things that matter the most. Although there will always be things that demand our attention, we must consciously take actions that help us make the most use of our time and energy. You can manage your time by prioritizing your tasks according to your preference and making regular to-do lists. Here are some techniques you can adopt that can help in time management. Allen's input processing method. Inputs are external stimuli. This method analyzes and notes how you respond to the slight. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Learning to manage your time and energy reduces stress and helps you achieve your goals faster. Poor time management is a significant source of anxiety. People prioritize stress by allocating all their time and energy to activities that leave them anxious. You need to learn to prioritize rest and relaxation as not just something you do after completing other important things at the end of the day. You can relax by taking time out to have fun and engage in enjoyable activities or just spend time doing nothing. Time management is not all about getting much work done in a day. It's an excellent way to structure and manage your life such that you spend your resources and energy on things that matter the most. Although there will always be things that demand our attention, we must consciously take actions that help us make the most use of our time and energy. You can manage your time by prioritizing your tasks according to your preference and making regular to-do lists. Here are some techniques you can adopt that can help in time management. Allen's input processing method. Inputs are external stimuli. This method analyzes and notes how you respond to the slightest stimuli, such as calls, emails, etc. Then you must plan for the best way to prioritize certain stimuli over others. Setting SMART goals stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound goals. Write down your goals in a specific way and put measures in place to determine if you have achieved them. Ensure the goals are not bizarre. Make them attainable and relevant to your value system. Lastly, set a time limit for completing the goals so that you can accomplish them at the appropriate time. Time blocking. Allocating time to focus on a single task rather than multitasking. This will help you always to begin your day with your priorities. When you practice the techniques above, your time management skills will improve. Also, these techniques are not just something you do once and forget about. You have to make them your lifestyle. Time blocking can curb the perfectionist impulse and give you a more realistic idea of how long things actually take. Nick Trinton. Chapter 5. Autogenic training, visualization, and muscle relaxation work to prevent you from overthinking. No matter how intentional you are about reducing your stress level, it's possible to be caught up in the grip of anxious overthinking despite the best laid plans. Some practical ways to reduce anxiety include autogenic training. This technique teaches the body to respond to your verbal commands to control your thoughts and emotions. To practice this technique, find a cozy place to sit or lie down. Then keep telling yourself, "I am alert," while breathing slowly and steadily. Feel the sensations of what you're saying in various parts of your body as you intermittently repeat the phrase to yourself. It will take a lot of time to master this technique, but it's easy to practice, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. Remember, learning to control your thoughts, emotions, and body helps you gain mastery of your mind. Guided imagery and visualization. Mental images help to unite your mental and physical world, aligning your awareness, thoughts, and sensations in the present moment. To practice this technique, assume a comfortable position, relax your breathing, and close your eyes so you can concentrate. Think of a place that inspires relaxation and ruminate on it in detail. How the place smells, the color, sounds, how it feels and tastes. Imagine yourself there and see yourself happy and enjoying it. Then create a story for 5 to 20 minutes. At the end of your time, gently come out of your image, open your eyes, and stretch a little. Finally, form a closing element on the image you imagined. For instance, you can imagine yourself ending the scene and keeping it in your pocket to go back to later. Progressive muscle relaxation. This technique embraces the notion that your mental relaxation is dependent on your physical relaxation. So, the objective is to relax your muscles by first tensing them up. Progressive muscle relaxation involves sitting in a comfortable position and going from head to toe or vice versa, tensing different parts of your body before relaxing and moving on. Aside from using progressive muscle relaxation to reduce your anxiety levels, constant practice will help improve the quality of your sleep. Chapter 6. Persistently engaging in negative thinking is detrimental to your health and increases anxiety. There is a connection between the mind, body, and emotions and how they influence one another. However, in the case of anxiety, the mind plays the most significant role. Based on this, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, aims to get to the root of the mind, helps in correctly perceiving the world, and enables the generation of more helpful adaptive thoughts. Unfortunately, negative thought patterns are responsible for almost all overthinking. But with CBT, you can get to the root of distorted thoughts and build better ones. Identify negative thought patterns and replace them with positive attitudes, which will improve your well-being. To rewire your thought pattern, you need to identify the different cognitive distortions you might be guilty of. One common distortion is black and white thinking, which is perceiving everything in extremes as either terrible or heavenly, and discounting the positives and disproportionately focus on the bad in any given scenario. The next thing to do is focus on the kind of situations, people, or environment that trigger specific thought patterns. To keep track of these relevant details, you might want to consider keeping a dysfunctional. Chapter 6. Persistently engaging in negative thinking is detrimental to your health and increases anxiety. There is a connection between the mind, body, and emotions and how they influence one another. However, in the case of anxiety, the mind plays the most significant role. Based on this, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, aims to get to the root of the mind, helps in correctly perceiving the world, and enables the generation of more helpful adaptive thoughts. Unfortunately, negative thought patterns are responsible for almost all overthinking. But with CBT, you can get to the root of distorted thoughts and build better ones. Identify negative thought patterns and replace them with positive attitudes, which will improve your well-being. To rewire your thought pattern, you need to identify the different cognitive distortions you might be guilty of. One common distortion is black and white thinking, which is perceiving everything in extremes as either terrible or heavenly, and discounting the positives and disproportionately focus on the bad in any given scenario. The next thing to do is focus on the kind of situations, people, or environment that trigger specific thought patterns. To keep track of these relevant details, you might want to consider keeping a dysfunctional thought record. So whenever you notice that you're thinking negatively, you stop to record the place, the event that preceded the thought, the specific thought, and which type of distortion it was. After doing that, you spend sufficient time thinking of a rational response to this thought. Once you can better understand your cognitive distortions, you will be able to look for ways to change the thought patterns. A behavioral experiment is a good technique for changing thought patterns. This experiment involves stating your negative thoughts or beliefs clearly, then formulating a hypothesis where you consider that there's a probability that it is false. The next step is remembering an experience that can justify the belief as false and making observations that will support your claims. If you find reasons to doubt your original belief, analyze them and make changes to your thought pattern accordingly. Thoughts create emotions which shape our perception and change our beliefs about ourselves and how we act. Nick Trinton. Did you know? According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, anxiety disorders affect 18.1% of the population annually. Conclusion. The goal of this summary goes beyond just learning tons of coping strategies that will aid in dealing with overthinking. It is about shifting the mindset and making changes in the perception to have a more transformational impact. First, learn to focus on only the things you can control and not stress yourself over those you can't. There is nothing you can do about the things you can't control, so it's better to accept and make progress. Also, try to concentrate on what you have and not on what you don't. Most people find it difficult to focus on all the good things that are happening around them. They prefer to be overwhelmed with what they don't have. The solution to this is to be deliberate about thinking and be grateful for the good things in life. Similarly, your wants are never ending, and you can't always have what you want. So, it's advisable to focus on what you need and not what you want. Lastly, live in the present, not the past or the future, because what-ifs are the best way to fall prey to overthinking. Eliminate negative thoughts as soon as possible and replace them with positive thoughts and imagination. Choose to be in charge of how you spend your time and energy by setting your priorities right. Have specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. Break your goal into smaller pieces and use the time-blocking technique to focus on acting on one at a time. Try this. Have a stress journal to record the time, date, and your current feelings. Rate your stress on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 for not being stressed at all and 10 for being super stressed. Also, keep note of physical symptoms, stressful events, and anything else you perceive as stressful. Lastly, document how you responded to those events and their outcomes. This will help you know the origin of your stress and how to deal with it.